Okay, so now we know about the CIA's secret UFO crash retrieval program, led by the OGA. Now we're getting reactions from it and more thoughts on it. So let's talk about that and the other items on today's list. It's time for another UFO news roundup. So get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, we have a reaction from Gary Nolan to yesterday's bombshell article by Chris Sharp, etc. et al. This is a great article that you, Matt, and Josh put together. It clearly took a lot of time and effort. This highlights the risk of suppression of information, which always wants to be free. Your sources worked on the inside and risked their careers to provide this information. An open question is what provoked them to take this risk. Understanding the psychology of this backdrop will tell you a lot about the components of how the alleged programs are operating. And yeah, I have a lot of questions about these, anonymous sources, of course, that are leaking this information. How are they able to leak this, without, being taken out, right? This is the CIA we're talking about, where they're not a warm and fuzzy bunch, right? Is this some sort of planned, controlled disclosure where they are going to begin to release some of the nuts and bolts type of stuff? Could that be what we're looking at? Or is this a genuine leak? I don't know, guys. Let me know your thoughts on that in the comments below. And of course, if you don't know what we're talking about and you haven't heard of the bombshell article talking about the OGA, the CIA's program that performed UFO crash retrievals, and apparently has since the early 2000s, and they have at least 9 UFOs, 2 intact. Well, here's a little breakdown. The OGI Global Access Office has led UFO recovery missions in various parts of the world since 2003, including in adversary countries, or adversary countries. Adversary or adversary? Recoveries have been carried out in at least 9 locations around the world. At least 2 non-human vehicles were recovered intact. The CIA can detect UFOs while they are camouflaged and trigger recovery actions in the event of a landing, accident, or shooting. Operations are carried out by special forces such as SEALs and Delta Force who are not informed about what they will capture. The CIA passes on the recovered vehicles to third parties, including private industry, for scientific analysis and attempted reverse engineering to be carried out. Of course, this is all very surface level, right? It doesn't get into the, Lance Corporal Weigand sort of material where there's a international hub of operations in Peru. The Chinese are there. They, it seems like a very robust operation. It's not just 9 craft, and that was in the 90s. It doesn't talk about, assassinations or working with the beings or any sort of deliberate, plan to shoot at these objects, which they do all the time. So clearly there's a lot more going on than just the OGA. That is just because I think that this, the UFO control group or whatever it is, I think there are multiple programs, possibly even many programs, all dealing with their own sphere or their own aspect. And there are the more surface level nuts and bolts retrieval and reverse engineering type operations. And then there are the deeper level stuff, like the Michael Herrera stuff, where you've got, the Men in Black or whatever they are, flying around in their own UFOs, abducting people. And of course, and that is, in his story, he believes they were taking people with psi abilities who could interact with this technology. And, that is a fascinating thing. Ross Coulthart has also talked about people with psi abilities being very important to the control group because they can interact with this technology. But then there are the countless experiencer accounts, contactees, abductees, who have seen, government and military officials working with the beings during abductions. So, and there's obviously a whole lot more besides, but they give you an idea of the levels we're talking about here. So the OGA, based on what we're seeing, is very much just a surface level program. But in a very important program, we can now name names to, or you name a name to this program. So that's huge. That's huge, guys. I love it. I can't wait to find out more. I can't wait to see where this goes. Is this the crack in the dam? I mean, Lou Elizondo and David Grutch were the crack in the dam, but we could be getting some water coming out now, guys. What do you think? Let me know. In other news, MH370 is getting some play on a very popular political podcast, the Tim Pool podcast, and I think that's really interesting. Tim himself doesn't really talk about it, but his guest does, and I think that is fascinating. I'm still not, I haven't made up my mind about MH370. The timeline that I shared with you the other day, where the secret classified satellite information was known to the leaker long before it was publicly available, suggests that either the leaker is legitimate and the MH370 footage is legitimate, or that it is deliberate, planned disinformation to, make the UFO community look fringy, I guess. So, it's one of the two. In my mind, it's either deliberate disinformation or else it's legit. But, that's just me. However, if it's disinformation, that doesn't explain, the phone calls the family members of the missing were receiving from their lost loved ones, after the crash. So, it's a head scratcher, guys, and I totally understand people's skepticism on that case. But it is still very compelling, and there's too many things that don't make sense with a logical explanation. But again, that's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments below. In other news, could this opening right here we're seeing be the entryway into a UFO layer of Lockheed Martin where they keep at least one UFO? Well, that is the claim by Richard Boylan. The hour is upon Lockheed Martin to get ahead of collapsing secrecy around Lockheed's possession of a stolen Procyon B-Star spacecraft hidden at Lockheed Martin Advanced Technology Program's underground facility. There's the address, Skunkworks, Saucerworks, photo attached. Mike Disclosure says, Professor Boylan, if this claim is true, you can DM me on this platform and we can bring uncontrolled disclosure out to the public without needing the Congress to do it for us. Let me know what you want to do. Thanks for your time, Professor. Okay. Mike also says this is not new or credible information. This was released by Stephen Greer. And of course, I have to roll my eyes at anything that Stephen Greer puts out. But at the same time, he has done some good, and he does have some contacts, and he has produced many whistleblowers or witnesses to events. So you can't discount things that Stephen Greer says automatically, because like I say, he does know some stuff. Michael DeMatteo says, Helendale is an aircraft RCS test facility. The hangar there would be used to cover test AC from adversary reconnaissance. Richard says, Mike, I have spent decades speaking at public conferences and on TV and in radio interviews, Art Bell, etc., speaking of UFO and ET reality and presence here. If you have some other means to bring disclosure forward to the public, I'd like to hear it. Well, me too. And that's when Mike has his "Okay, Professor" comment. And then J.P. Knight says, I mean, the whole facility is available for viewing on Google Earth, including the office buildings, hangars, and tons of winding dirt roads up the mountains that lead nowhere. Intriguing. Richard says, if you want lots more info, go to his website, which is right here. And sure enough, there is a lot of info there, and I don't have enough time to go through all that. But I will link to it in the comments below. And again, I'm not sure if this information is coming from Stephen Greer or from some other source. If Richard has some other source, and maybe he explains that in this article that I am not going to read at the moment. But a fascinating notion that we may have discovered the location of at least one UFO. In other news, also with Mike disclosure, he says, breaking news, Congress is currently rewriting the Schumer Amendment to remove the eminent domain clause, something that we've, been suspecting. But here Mike is confirming it. And he says, they are also exempting certain active SAP programs, special access programs, from the FOIA process. It's a Hail Mary attempt at trying to get the U.A.P. Disclosure Act of 2023 passed. So, I guess we can hope it gets passed in some crippled, neutered form. That sounds awful to hope for, really. But at least it might do some good if it gets passed. If it doesn't get passed at all, it's not going to do any good. Maybe if it does get passed in this neutered version, it can be amended later to rediscover what was taken from it in the neutering process. So anyway, but yeah, that's where things seem to be, is in this wrangling over the legislation and possibly salvaging something from the Schumer Rounds Amendment. So I have reservations about the Schumer Rounds Amendment, establishing this gatekeeping committee, etc. But it really probably is our best shot at UFO disclosure at the moment. In other news, here's a cool UFO that was shared on the Joe Rogan show. Check it out. Check this out. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, and now as Joe points out, you can't really tell how fast this thing is going, because the plane is zipping by it. A Mylar balloon would also look like it was going very fast. But, my friends, that does not look like a Mylar balloon to me. Let me know what you think that looks like in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this UFO news roundup, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure would appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Please share this on social media. Check out the merch store below for a coffee mug or a t-shirt to support the channel. Consider becoming a channel member, because channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos to check out on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.